Nicole. It's my privilege to be your MC for today. I've been really looking forward to today's gathering, having been before and really relished the opportunity to be with a wonderful, inspiring group of women. So one woman who I've really appreciated getting to know is Lainey, and I'm going to invite Lainey to do our Aboriginal acknowledgement for today. Thank you, Lainey. Welcome, Lainey.
I'm sure you all join me in thanking the wonderful ancestors for holding the space of land, the spirit, all of it, so beautifully for future generations, which just so happened to now include us. So we acknowledge that, and with appreciation, let's move forward, live, love, give. That's basically how they manage their economy and most other things. Rarely there was anything other than that. Live, love, give. Thank you.
And now, Maylene, we're going to have our goodwill peace prayer. So, if you can, see that? I'm not sure. Can you see that at the back? Oh, there we go. That makes it easier. So, if you can, this is called our goodwill peace prayer, and I would invite you to read this with me now. We come from many backgrounds and have journeyed these roads. We give thanks for these good things of our past. We rejoice in the first people of this land and their continuing cultures. We celebrate with all who have left other nations, brought their learning and made a home in this place. Just as the bunya tree has given life to so many generations, so may we offer shelter and sustenance and share smiles of peace and harmony. We bring many gifts and outlooks. We give thanks for these good things of present. We rejoice in the strengths and the diversity of our shared community. We celebrate our many faiths and stories, our business and our art. Just as our environment gives delight to our garden city, so may we scatter seeds of understanding, grow flowers of friendship, plant peace and harvest harmony. We share many hopes and dreams. We give thanks for these promises of the future. We rejoice in its possibilities. We recommit ourselves to the common good. Just as earlier diverse communities gathered for the great bunya festivals of the past, so may we walk together today in a more joyful and reconciling world. Honouring our elders and raising up children of hope, may we be a model city of peace and harmony. Well, thank you for praying that with us. It's a great way to start our day. May we bring children of hope. And so to begin our opening address, I'd just like you to place your hand on your heart and just come into an awareness of that love that beats within you, that you're about to share with one another. That heart that's full of hope, heart full of gratitude for your presence in this world, on this earth. A heart full of gratitude for all the many gifts in your life, the loved ones you share the journey with, your good health, all the things that you're looking forward to. Come into a present awareness with your heart open for learning, your heart open to friendship in this day. Your heart open to peace, your heart open to harmony, your heart open to changing your ideas maybe after what you've heard today. Thank you. So we've got a day packed full of speakers who will focus on women, And it's a day for us to share the stories with each other from our learning, and it's important that you know you're in a safe place. So later on, after our speakers, we'll have questions and answers. And you need to be able to feel that you can ask questions and not be thinking, well, what's someone going to think about that? It's okay, yeah? So as you're listening to our speakers, who I'm going to introduce in a little while, please have some ideas of some questions that you might like to ask later on. And just know that that's what we're here for, that we're here to create a safe place where we can learn from each other, enjoy each other, and leave today really inspired and encouraged for the future ahead. So I'd just like to, before we start, say a couple of things. I'd like to thank all those who organised today on our so a big round of applause to them. Thank you. Thank you and for our young women who are also here. This is, I just must say, this is where my husband and I have our children go to school and go to church here. It's a really special place. So thanks St Anthony's for having us here as well. And you know, the toilets are in there, and if there's anything you need, let us know. There will be photos taken today, so if you're not comfortable about having photos taken, we don't want you to be uncomfortable, so please maybe let Maylene know. But the speakers will be filmed, and there'll be the odd photo, and we'll have a group photo as well, which will be lovely as well. So I think without further ado, we've got a couple more people coming in. Welcome. Come on. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to a really beautiful, inspiring lady. Her name is Shirley Ann Gardner. Shirley Ann usually sees me in my pink pastoral care uniform at Toowoomba Hospital. So I'm a pastoral care at Toowoomba Hospital, where Shirley Ann Gardner is the Executive Director of our Toowoomba Hospital. And I've got to know Shirley Ann when we're going to memorials for staff members who sadly died, whether we're encouraging staff along the way. We just seem to bump into each other, which is just really lovely. It's wonderful to have Shirley Ann here to be with us today. Shirley Ann talks to us today about the role of education in our lives. And I'm really looking forward to hearing you speak. And I really want us to give Shirley Ann a very, very warm welcome and show our hearts full of gratitude for her time with us here today. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. So I want to talk to you today about women in education. Now, I haven't come from a family that were well educated. I was the first one in my family to get a university degree. And I understand the challenges of not being from a family that were well to do. My parents were 16, well, my mum was 16 when she had my sister, and 17 when she had me. My parents have done very well, but what I am passionate about is explaining the social determinants of health. So although I run the hospital and have done for 3 years, the people that come in, it's understanding where people have come from and how health and education play a huge part and are connected with each other. And so the social determinants of health are things that impact on us and our health, but are not actually related to anything we can do. And so this includes education. So there's two parts to my talk. One's about education and the social determinants of health. And the other thing is about women in education and what we can do to help better education for women in particular. So what we know is that your postcode is actually a stronger predictor of your health than your genetic code. So where you live plays a stronger part in what's going to happen to you in your life than what your family history is. And so what we know is that the life expectancy gap between the most and least educated has been growing since the 1960s. And research shows that individuals can die up to 20 years earlier just by where they live, what education they get, and safety, housing, because it's all interrelated. This is fascinating for me, because I've always known that women live longer, and all the life expectancy stats, women years longer than men, but those with a tertiary education actually live 6 years longer. And so why is that? We can see that poorer education outcomes for children are based on low-income families. So if you come from a low-income family, your children may not have the same opportunities as those living in a higher, more economically sound family. They have difficulty getting a job, have then poorer life outcomes like poorer health, poorer opportunities. And that's what fascinates me, and that's what I want to help bring and bridge that gap so that actually everyone in society has an equal opportunity. It can sometimes seem a little bit unrealistic, and I'm going to show you some slides of why. These are our education levels, and so the Darling Downs Hospital and Health Service is where I work, and we service 7 different local government areas. We're 90,000 square kilometres, about the size of Tasmania. And we're broken down into different areas, local government areas. But if you look at Toowoomba, those that did not go to school or leave school before year 8, 7.4% of the population compared to Queensland at 5.4. So we have a lot of people who are not staying at school in Toowoomba, but we've also got a lot that complete year 12, but it's still less than Queensland overall. So we've got a lot of people dropping out before we would expect them to. As far as getting a degree or a tertiary qualification, 56.9% of people go on to get a tertiary qualification, but that's still significantly less than Queensland overall. So why do people die earlier, or why do people live 6 years longer? And it's because people who graduate university are significantly less likely to smoke. And that's a major contributor to chronic disease, diabetes, heart disease, renal failure. And so we know that, it's pretty hard to read here, but 37.2% difference in those that don't finish year 12. So we know that. And we also know that there's smoking rates. This is if you don't graduate from high school. If you leave high school, 36% of people smoke, current smokers, versus graduating uni, 4.1. It's because you learn about the things that impact on your health. And so people are much more likely to not smoke when they realise how bad it is for you. We also know that those that earn the least amount of money, less than $35,000 a year, smoke more than those that earn a lot of money. And the problem is cigarettes are very, very expensive. So it's kind of like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. We also know that because smoking leads to risk factors, a risk factor for chronic disease, diabetes prevalence and education level, this is the less than a high school graduate, that's their diabetes prevalence rate compared to a college graduate. So you can see that again, you stay at school, you have less prevalence of chronic disease. Also, this is based on income. Those with the poorest income have the highest rate of diabetes compared to those with the highest income. So those with the lowest versus those with the highest. Pretty scary statistics. And one of the reasons is children, their most influential part of their life is their parents and their surroundings. And like I know that from my parents who were smokers, my dad's got type 1 diabetes, had it his whole life. As a child, I was exposed to smoking, I was exposed to drinking, whether I liked it or not. Because your home is where you're most influenced and where you learn the most about what life's about. And if you have parents who don't have an expectation of you to continue at school, then you're less likely to want to continue at school because you don't know anything else. You don't know any other way. And we know that this is speech interactions. This is higher socioeconomic status versus low. So people in poverty here, research shows that those in high economic status talk to their children with a vocabulary at least twice that of those in children in welfare. So already from a very, very early age, children are disadvantaged by where they live and who their parents are. It's outside of their control. And I think that's the most unfair thing about society. It automatically stops you reaching your full potential just by who your parents are. And we know children in poverty use fewer emotional keyboards because you're only hardwired with a few actual emotions. You've got to learn the rest. And so life can be pretty tough. We also know that disadvantaged students are on average 2 to 3 years behind in reading and maths. So if you wanted to be a doctor and you came from a very low income family, you might not have gained the skills and the reading and the maths and all of that required to get you to a good university, just by who your family is. They did a study last year, and they said Australian children in regional areas experience a tyranny of distance from major cities, seeing in somewhat poorer learning outcomes for children living in these areas. And we know that in Toowoomba, we actually have some fantastic schools. But if you go out to Chinchilla, Sherburg, Mergen, all of those areas, the schooling quality is not the same. There are not the same level of grammar or fair home schools. And we know this is the Learning Outcome Index, and they know proportion doing very well. Those that live in outer regional, so that's Toowoomba would be considered inner regional, and like outside of Toowoomba, for example, in Darling Downs, we can see that for those that live out in the country, physical outcome index is pretty good for them because there's a lot of people who work on farms, stay fit, can do all those things. But as far as learning goes, if you're from a city, your proportion doing very well is a lot higher in a city than what it is the further out you go and the more rural you are. Unfortunately, if you come from a family that's born in poverty, you want to be able to afford rent. To afford rent, often in a city, it's impossible, it's very expensive. So a lot of people move. So my family, before I was the age of 8, I think we moved around 12 times. And we lived in very, very small towns because the rent was cheap. And what you'll find is places like Chinchilla now, after the mines have gone, the housing is so cheap, so the demographic of that population is changing. And what you do is, then you move to cities and towns that are further out from a major city, which means your learning and your outcomes are going to be actually affected by that. We also know parents' expectation of their children's education attainment is different by where they live. So in major cities, 51% expect that their child will get a degree if they're a boy. In outer regional, only 36% of those expect that their son will get a degree. It's higher for girls, which is great. 67% of parents in major cities expect that their daughter will go on to get secondary, tertiary education, but outer regional it drops down to 56%. Women in education, so the second part, then and now, how far have we come? This isn't to hassle men, but in the 1950s, 60s, it was very common in adverts that women were thought of to be at home. Show her it's a man's world was the Thai company. It's nice to have a girl around the house and he's treating on her face. They were common ads because women at that time were housewives. It was common to be a housewife. Don't worry, darling, you didn't burn the beer. No, keep her where she belongs. Those sort of things. So we've come a really, really long way as far as women go. Women were not elected to the Commonwealth Parliament until 1943, and it wasn't until 1965 that Australian women won the right to drink in a public bar. And during the 60s, if you got married, you had to resign from your job. So we've come a really awesome long way. The problem is we can still go further, and I love these new ads because I watch a lot of television, I love movies, and you still hear a lot of people, when I watch the rugby and I see someone get tackled, I still hear the commentators say, oh, that wasn't so bad, oh, he hits like a girl. You know, lots of comments, oh, it was a bit of a girly thing. Like really derogatory comments, but they're just so standardised. But I love this new outcome we've got where we're fighting back saying, a boy told me I skated like a girl. I told him if he skated a little faster, he could be too. I run like a girl, try and keep up, like it's a great thing, you know, girl power. And you wish you could throw like a girl. That's the softball ad in America saying, you know, girls can do anything, which is just fantastic. And we also know, as far as schooling, it's fantastic to see that in the 1970s, only 25% of those attending university were girls. Now, for every 100 women, there's only 72 men. So we're outnumbering them. It is just fantastic. And worldwide, make up almost 60% of those getting a bachelor degree. So the world is changing, which is fantastic. But we have some factors that hold us back. And I see this in my job every day. Factors holding women back: a shortage of funding. So it's really expensive to go to university, and we know that the income premium for holding a degree, you can earn 40% more if you have a degree. And we know if you stay in school, each additional year of schooling leads to a 10% increase in income. So it's fantastic. Stay at school. So what's the problem? Well, first of all, this is just another one to explain that. If you get a doctoral degree and get a PhD, you'll earn the most money. And this is the unemployment rate. So if you have a doctoral degree, the unemployment rate is the lowest. So you're most likely to have a job and be able to use it. And you'll earn the most. Versus if you leave school, the unemployment rate is so much higher and you earn the least. So the longer you'll stay in school, the more money you'll earn and the more opportunity you'll have to actually get a job and not be unemployed. But we know that there is a gender pay gap, and globally it's 14.6%. So men get paid more for doing the same job. And that's worldwide, and it's higher in Australia. So in Australia, Australian women are paid 17.5% less than men. So they have to do an extra 64 days a year to get the same pay. So we have got a long way to go. But what this means economically is that lower salaries for women mean there's less incentive to stay in school. The rewards for investing in tertiary education is not the same as it is for men. Another factor that holds women back is psychological barriers and bias against women. Here's a riddle for you. A boy is in a car crash with his father, who is killed. So his father's killed. When the boy is rushed to hospital, the surgeon sees him and says, "I can't operate on this boy as he is my son." How is that possible? Yeah. Some of you have said the answer. You know, 40 to 75% of people can't get this because they cannot picture the surgeon as a woman. Because it's not common. And why is it not common? Because up until now, women haven't had the same opportunities. But yes, the surgeon is the boy's mother. But we still know that just this year, only 1 in 5 businesses in the UK were run by women, even though they outnumber men by 900,000. And we know in Australia, the top 200 Australian stock exchange companies, only 3% of CEOs are women. Only 8% of board of directors, and key management personnel, 8%. So even though we're getting these degrees and having better opportunity, we're still not seeing that come into management and high up leadership positions. So here's a video, and I'll just get Mayan to set up the video. This is a great one. It's actually about violence in women, but I've shortened it to just cover the bit about education and the opportunities or lack of for women. This was done this year, and it's a fantastic video. If you get to see it on YouTube, it's called Let's Change the Story.
Here's the story of a regular woman. As a girl, she gets told how pretty she is, never how clever she is, that if she wears a short dress, she's asking for it. She grows up and gets used to being harassed by men on the street. That's just the way it is. Here's the story of a regular man. As a boy, he learns that women aren't equal to men from a very early age. Even though both his parents work, on the weekends his mum does the housework while dad watches sport. When he cries about being bullied at school, his dad tells him to stop being such a girl and just punch him right back. Technically speaking, we'd say that these social norms, practices and structures have shaped both the boy and the girl, creating a society where women are valued less and men are expected to be dominant and in control. In such a world, disrespect and hostility is excused, and violence against women is far more likely. But back to our story. The girl grows up into a woman, the boy grows into a man, and they begin to date. He jokes that he hopes she doesn't get fat now that we're together. She's not sure whether she should laugh. They have the same education and do similar work, yet he earns more money. He's quickly promoted, like other men in the company, while she gets overlooked. At home, she does all the household chores, and he takes control of their joint finances, seeing as he's the main breadwinner and all. When they're at the pub, he puts her down in front of his mates. His friends stay quiet. In the morning, he wakes up and blames the alcohol. And stress, he always has an excuse. When she gets pregnant, her boss says she can't come back part-time. After the baby is born, the lack of flexible job opportunities and childcare keeps her out of the workforce. She is socially isolated and financially dependent on him.
That's a typical example of how women who are the main primary caregivers normally can struggle. So the fear of failure is another thing that holds women back. I see this all the time. I love this quote: doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Women tend to doubt themselves, and research shows that if you apply for a job, women want to tick 100% of the key selection criteria, whereas a man will look at it and tick maybe 60% and then say, yeah, I'm good enough, I'll go for the job. I mentor a few people, and one of the people I mentor came to see me and said, I wanted to apply for a job, but I knew I didn't have all of the things they wanted, so I was going to call them and say to them, hey, look, I know I don't have all the skills, but I'm really quite interested. And I said, don't do that. You don't know when you're trying to look for someone what skills you actually want, so you're better off just going for it and seeing you can do it. You've got all this experience, but you're not just doubting yourself. And women tend to do that. And doubt does kill more dreams than failure ever will, because they don't try. And the thing is, what doomed them was not their actual ability, but rather the decision not to try. Because some people feel, oh, I can only do like 90%, so I won't put myself out there, because I think they won't want me. Whereas, as I said, men have got so much more confidence. And we see this when there's failure and hard times. 2/3 of female entrepreneurs admitted that they find it hard to bounce back from failures compared to 55% of men. In my job, I get rubbish all the time. I get people running me down, I get days where I don't feel like getting out of bed, but I do. Because I don't lack that, I don't doubt myself, probably. I think my husband and I have total role reversal. He's always been the at-home dad, and I've come home and said, where's my dinner? And I can sometimes be a bit more of the male side, and he tends to be more feminine. He's an early childhood teacher, so he's absolutely more in touch with his feminine side. But when I have a hard time, I look at my quotes on my wall, and ones like this inspire me. Throw me to the wolves and I'll return leading the pack. So treat me like dirt, do whatever, but you'll never win, because I'm super resilient. And I think that's what women need to see, your resilience, and believing you can do it. When I was asked to run the hospital, it was an overwhelming thought for me at the time. But then the next day I thought, awesome, I'll use this opportunity. And it's been 3 years and it gets easier. So, you know, we have to bounce back, and we need quotes to encourage us and inspire us that we can do it. We lack networks and mentors, and it's really good if you can see someone that you admire and go and approach them and try and get support. Beyonce, who rules the world and who runs the world? Girls. It's so good to see people saying, we can do it. These are some role models I put up. A lot of people like Star Wars, and I don't need rescuing. She's not she's the Princess Leia, but she doesn't need rescuing. She can do things fine on her own. New Zealand Prime Minister, very inspiring woman, especially during the Christchurch attacks, she got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize because of the way she handled that situation, and it was fantastic. She also got death threats, but you know, she's a very strong woman. Amelia Earhart, and then we've got Michelle Obama. So find role models that you can look up to, because there are lots of women who are not afraid of the world, or if they are, they do it behind closed doors, have a bit of a cry, rock in the corner, and then get up and bounce back. The last thing that holds women back is a really true thing. My husband's away at the moment, and it's the first time he's ever been away for longer than a few days, and he's been away a week, and I realise how hard it is to juggle my children without him there. It's really hard. And we know that women spend on average twice as much time on housework and other unpaid activities than men. So men normally go to work, come back after everything's done, or do what I did, you know, where's my dinner? And we also know that as far as caring for family members, 92% of children with a disability are cared for by their mother. And we know 70% of parents are cared for by their daughter. And partners, 52%. And we do know that 1 in 2 mothers experience discrimination about coming back to leave regarding parental leave or return to work. In defence of men, and as I said, my husband's always been an at-home dad. He's a fantastic at-home dad. He now works for the City Council on First 5 Forever, teaching young children literacy. And he runs a super men's group. And only 4.6% of 2-parent families are men. But they also experience a lot of social isolation because it's not the accepted norm for the dad to be home. Because we know that most of those that look after children are mums. We can see that over time. This is 59.9% of parents are both working, and stay-at-home father is only 4.6% in 2016, but it's slowly increased. 29% of 2-parent families are women. The mum stays at home. They did a study of different countries, and it said that 13% of Australians believe a man staying at home is less of a man for looking after the kids. I actually think that's higher, because like I said, my husband's always stayed home and looked after the kids, but he's had people come up to him and say, when are you getting a real job? Things like that. Made him feel very uncomfortable. Even with the super men's group, he's now got 10 dads that come along, but it's taken a really long time. They find it really hard because there are no connections in the community. For example, women get to go to Wednesday Mums and Bubs movies if they want to. Dads don't have anything like that. So if we do want women to be empowered to get jobs, we also need to support dads to feel comfortable to be at home. And they don't at the moment. So what does the future look like for women? The world will offer more opportunities for women, but we need to encourage that they stay in school. Because as we know, the 40% premium on income, we need to role model and encourage future leaders. In my job, the most hassle I've had in running the hospital has been from other women who have, and I love this, you can always tell who the strong women are. They're the ones seen building each other up instead of tearing each other down. Our board in Toowoomba Hospital, I'm part of the executive, and on the executive we have the majority are female, not male. And that's unusual, but still, people say, oh, it's because they're young and pretty and blonde, because a lot of the other execs have got blonde hair. So instead of thinking, well, that's great, they're actually more clever or just as clever, it's, oh, well, it's because they were picked because they are blondes or young or whatever. Instead of actually, you wouldn't do that if it was a male board, you know? So the ones that are hassling us are actually women themselves. I love this one, Essay Lauder. I never dreamed about success, I worked for it. If you do want to get a good job, you have to work for it. And no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I struggle with this one. I try not to feel when people get me down. That was Eleanor Roosevelt said that. I try and think, you know, I can't let people get to me, it's up to me. So we've got to build that resilience. One way to build resilience is community, and groups like this one are fantastic for that, finding like-minded people, finding support. When you have parents who don't know any other way, the only way to know something that you don't know is to go and find other people in community groups who can help you, mentor you, support you. There's also a council group called Safer Toowoomba Regional Partnerships, and they work with all different groups in community to provide place-based initiatives. But I think Pure Land Learning and everything they bring with multi-faith, also teaching people and educating people on different ways of being and improving are fantastic. So in conclusion, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The problem with that is you need the fishing rod to fish. Some people don't have the resources right from the start. So you can teach them, and I see this, my daughter's living in Canada at the moment. I was saying to Nicole, she's got a 4-year basketball scholarship. Yeah, that's fantastic, you know. One of 3% of the population that get these sort of scholarships. But when we actually, so it's fully paid for education, we have to pay $500 a month rent, which is less than it is in Australia. Now that's fantastic. But to get her visa, Canada said we needed to prove that we could financially sustain her for 4 years. So I wrote to them as part of this letter, with all this documentation, to say, yes, we will financially support her. We're both working. Yep. Her visa was declined. We had to prove we had $10,000 in the bank. They needed 3 months bank statements and 10 grand. Now, she comes from a family where we could do that. If you got a scholarship and you had a single mum as a parent, how would you actually be able to fulfil that scholarship? Because that's outside your control. And that's why I was furious, not because I had to prove all this evidence, but I thought, how unfair. My son does violin. I had to buy him a $400 violin. How do you afford a $400 violin to encourage you to be into music if you're from a single mum who can't afford it? Life is not fair. So even though my daughter has a scholarship, I made her watch these YouTube videos about how life is not fair, and it's only because of her situation in life that she's able to go. Another example of this is my kids, I send them to Centenary Heights because the principal is a woman, Mary Ann Walsh, and she is amazing, great role model. But my daughter came home one day, before she went to Canada, and she said to me, oh, the physio said to me, I didn't know your mum ran to a hospital. Oh my God, why didn't I know that? But she'd go to Centenary. And that made me really annoyed, because I thought, just because my kids go to a public school does not mean that they can't be anything they want to be. And I made the choice to send them there to get a real world view of what life is like. Because I didn't want her feeling like she had a silver spoon in her mouth. Because I wanted her to live in the real world. So it kind of annoyed me that there's this perception that you go to a private school and that means you're more elite. Because that's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to encourage. And that's why I like to present, you can be anything you want to be. And it doesn't matter where you come from. You just need resilience, drive, and you need groups like this to show you that you can do it. Social determinants of health. So education, everything impacts on your health, and education is one of the biggest impactors. Like I said, you will live 6 years longer if you continue to study. Pretty scary stats. So the fact that education is linked to life expectancy. So if you leave school, you're going to have less income, which means your employment opportunities won't be as great. You may have poorer health literacy. If you have less income, you might turn to violence and crime. You may become homeless, which means you're going to have problems with housing. You'll lead to social exclusion, which you could have suicide attempts. You may access alcohol. So it's all tied in, which is why it's really important, particularly with health, that you know that all these things will impact on you. We also know that if you're born in poverty, 70% of people born at the lowest rung of the ladder will remain there. And that's because you don't know what you don't know. And we know that those that climb up to at least middle class, if not upper class, the things that set you apart and the reasons you can get out of that poverty, 53% of those that get out of poverty are actually college graduates. So again, education plays a massive part. They come from two-income families, they're white, and they don't experience unemployment. For a lot of our region, none of those actually are the things that will get you out of poverty. We know that a good education leads to supportive social connections, accessing good work, so it allows you to live a better life. Lifelong learning and problem solving. You learn that diabetes is connected to different things. You learn about healthy eating, and you have the money to buy things other than junk food. You can buy a salad for $12, but you can go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal for $5 and feed your family. Since my husband's been away and I never learned to cook, unfortunately, because he's at home, I burned myself yesterday on the stove, so I'm terrible. So I've been eating out, and I have to admit, even though I'm absolutely anti-KFC, and being a vegetarian, I don't eat it. But my son said to me, I really want a Zinger box thing. $10, and he got this massive meal. I went to the supermarket and got mine, and it was like $40. So anyway, junk food is cheaper, and when you're on a low income, you're more likely to spend money feeding your family on less money. But the best thing about in education is it makes you feel empowered and valued. Now, I think I've spoken for way too long, so that is the end.
another round of applause to Shirley. Who now, because her husband here, has got a dash off and pick up her son. So I just want to say thank you for all the effort and thoughtfulness that you put into your presentation and how inspiring you are. Can I say your mum and dad will be enormously proud of you, and I know that Gould Hospital is very, very blessed, as we have been blessed to have you here with your time. Thank you for your generosity and spirit. Shelley Ann's going to be back for some question and answer time. But thank you again, Shelley Ann. Wonderful. Oh, let's just all take a breath. Okay. It is with great delight now that I'm going to invite lovely Cedar, who I introduced myself to this morning. Cedar and I have something in common. So Cedar and I have beautiful daughters who are both in the youth peace group. And so Master and Ansel and their other friends are in a wonderful initiative. And I'm proud of our girls Cedar that they're doing that. But Cedar's going to talk to us about women, and I've got a little, Cedar's actually from an Afghan community here in Fulham, and Cedar loves cooking, which is great because I love eating, so it goes hand in hand. Cedar loves teaching and learning, and like all of us, she's got goals in her life, and her current goal is to become a teacher here in Australia. So I am really grateful that you've come to share some time with us, Cedar. I'd like us all to give a very warm welcome to Cedar.
The Joyful people, whom we pay respect to past, present, and emerging. I am privileged and honored to be standing here today, and I hope that my story can inspire you and you are able to gain something from it. My family and I have been living in Australia for nearly 5 years. In my family, there is my husband, my beautiful children, and our new beautiful daughter, Zahra, and my very kind sister. She will come in Australia about 6 months ago. I was born in capital city of Afghanistan, Kabul. In school, I loved learning, and one day I hope to be able to positively contribute to my society and my people. I was one of the privileged ones where my parents didn't think that it was a waste of money to send girls to school. My father also wished that me and my sister complete our education and be a helpful contributor to my community. My father died when I was very young, and my single mom stepped into both a father's and mother's role. She was a strong woman who never gave up on our education or future. When I was in grade 6, the Taliban raided Afghanistan. They shut down all schools for over 5 years and banned schools from going outside, banning girls from going outside without a maid. After school, completing exam, I did additional studies as well as getting married, and I having my first daughter, Master. With hard work and dedication, I was able to balance between raising my few months old baby and completing my teaching degree. Of course, I was also fortunate that my husband supported and encouraged me to continue my studies. After some argument and debate with his family, I was able to continue my studies. I'm very thankful to my husband. I started teaching on a real school. There I had two opportunities to work with amazing students. I taught students they earn the board of the family while still being a hard working, diligent student. I taught students who found enjoyment in learning. I taught students that were happy even when life had surrounding them with walls. After some time, I was appointed to one of the biggest boys' high school, Ghazi. There I also had an amazing experience. I was teaching and learning every day. I taught biology and chemistry, my favorite school subject. To grade 11 boys, I had an amazing time working with my colleagues and teaching what I loved every day. I loved wearing my green uniform and preparing for my classes and greeting students on the bus. Everything was happy and going well. However, as time passed, dangers to my family became clear. It was no longer safe in our home country. The war in Afghanistan got worse. Unexpected bombs could destroy home and families anytime, anywhere. I felt unsafe sending my children to school and going to work. I was very difficult leaving everything we had worked for. Leaving a house that my husband and I worked so hard for and dreamed of living for many years with my children, my job, my home, and my family. My husband left his business and shops that he had dedicated so much time and so many dreams to achieve. The emotions that I went through are indescribable. We know we were doing the right things to live for a safer, better place with opportunities for my children. However, we also know that we might not be able to return for very long time or ever. We left Afghanistan and stayed in Pakistan for a year. For over a year, we were foreigners in Pakistan. My husband had some knowledge of the language. We experienced things we had never done, such as renting house, the hot temperature we weren't used to, and so much more. We experienced life through a different perspective. As a teacher in Afghanistan, I could get a job right away, but without the language skills, I wouldn't be able to teach there. My son was just 2 months old when we moved to Pakistan and took care of him. My husband worked hard for our family. The hardest thing for me was not that I couldn't teach or we had to start from beginning. We didn't move to Australia. Australia was very foreign country. We never talked about it in school. My family settled well here with help of organizations such as MBA and the amazing people. I was surprised how friendly Australia were. Strangers greeting me good day and smile. I have never received direct discrimination because of my culture, religion, or my country. For that, I'm thankful. There were many learning opportunities, such as learning a new language and new culture, as well as the Australia. Australian slang such as ardu. I continued my hobby of cooking sweets of Afghanistan to introduce the sweet side of Afghanistan to Australia. Learning the new language was a big challenge. I started English class immediately after we moved in Tonga. Few months later, I enrolled into USQ classes for advanced English class 3. I was very hard being a full-time student as my son required a childcare which I didn't have access to. I took a break and started classes in TAFE for more flexible time. I also studied a kitchen operations certificate. Australia has become my second home, especially Tonga. Tonga is so diverse, and that is the beautiful of our world. Everyone living together in harmony while still holding to their unique identity. People often know of Afghanistan from the news about war, and forget that we also have a celebration and entertainment. Today, I would like to share a special celebration, Nowruz. Nowruz is the traditional Afghan New Year Day, also known as a farmer day, marks the first day of spring. It's New Year Day, also known as a farmer day, marks the first day of spring. It has been celebrated more than 3,000 years in Afghanistan, Iran, Tajikistan, or etc. The meaning of the word Nowruz consists of two parts. Now, which means new, and Rose, which means day. So it means new day, the singer of the new year. Nowruz is held on 21st of March as the first day of spring and first day of Persian calendar. Preparation for Nowruz starts several days beforehand. People start beginning or buying or making traditional Afghani dress, which is they will wear on the Nowruz day. Afghanistan all around the country visit family, friends and neighbors. Family and friends get together to do fun activities together, such as going to picnic and playing games. The celebration is marked by traditional music and dance. One of the most famous songs heard during Nowruz, Mullah Muhammad Jan. Afghan loves this story. They attend a traditional Afghan dance is usually performed by people from cycle to dance while clapping their hands. The dance begins slowly and with time build up speed. The Gulesar means is festival, flower festival. Percharaj is to read Tilak. It is a celebration in Mazar Sharif during the first 40 days of the year, when the Tilak flower grew in the green plants and on the hills surrounding the city. Afghans travel across the country to travel to Mazar Sharif to celebrate this ancient tradition. Food is also a very important part of the celebration, bonding people. For the special occasion, the traditional half mewa. Half mewa was mixed of 7 dried fruits, soaked on the water, is especially prepared at least in a week before. This dish symbolizes fertility and the end of the dry season. Another special dish called samana. Samana is made from young wheat and cooked in a big pot over a fire during the night while singing traditional songs. Sabzi chalao, white rice and spinach is cooked on a sark as one of the main dishes. Many other special dishes are made for this occasion. The loaves are prepared beforehand, including a selection of special Nowruz cookies and other sweets, treats such as jalebi or pilas, on a beautiful decorated sofra, which is a big piece of cloth, either pilas on a table or the ground with a candlelight on it. Family members then gather around and sofra for the announcement of the new year, followed by a prayer to the good health and happiness, lots of food and exchange of gifts. Nowruz is a very enjoyable and memorable. I personally prepare for Nowruz weeks beforehand, as it has a significant event to my family, just like many other Afghan families. And this is what Afghans say on Nowruz when family and friends see each other. Nowruz Mubarak. I have taken on many roles with created as a woman. I'm a woman, mother, a wife, a sister. Each role has its own responsibility. And unconditionally love. Being a woman has not been my disadvantage or weakness, but quite the opposite. Being a woman is a strength. It is a wish of a mother to be able to lead my children to the right path, to a bright future. I have always seen it is my duty to ensure that best environment for my children. One of the main reasons I moved here was for my children. My unconditional love and trust to my children cannot be compared to anything. I have, as a mother and as a teacher, taught my students and my children importance of education and equality. What I have went through has been made only stronger emotionally and mentally. I'm very grateful for that. Life has through as many challenges as are part of life, but you just have to have a positive outlook, and it just becomes a learning opportunity. I still haven't given up on my dream. Even though I have had to rest here, stop there, problem solved here, I will keep going, and one day, hopefully, I will teach here. My journey has been a beautiful as the destination. The journey has given me so much to learn and given me strength like no other. Thank you, everyone.
This beautiful lady, Sita, talks about her experience of being in Afghanistan. She said it was undescribable what she went through. She used that word. She said it was undescribable what she went through. And she talks about her experience in such a positive, amazing way. And I just know that when she also started her talk, her presentation, she said she was privileged to be here. That you and I here have been privileged to hear her story, but not only to hear her words, but to experience the positivity and the devotion, that unconditional love that she has for her children and the hopes and dreams that she has for them. We are privileged, Sita, to have you here as a beautiful woman, and your family here. We are privileged. And so you make us more beautiful because of your presence here. We'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
continue to hold on to that dream of yours. So we want you to achieve your goal to be a teacher, because we know that it would be very blessed to have you as a teacher. I could go home now and already be grateful for the day. But there's more. It's a taxi, and while I have the privilege of introducing you to Sarah, and Sarah is here with us today to talk to us about family, and it's quite fitting that she's got her daughter here and her husband here, and that's lovely to hear to cheer her on as well. Sarah's actually a committee member of the Blush Cancer Care. We might get to hear more about that, but we've given everyone else a warm welcome. Let's give an extra warm welcome now to Sarah, who's here to
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you to Cordially Learning College, first of all, for inviting me here today. I've known Hanif and Maylene for about 8 years now, and they've always been very kind and generous to me and to my family. So although I'm not really much of a public speaker, I was very happy to accept their invitation this time. I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about myself and my family, and from there I'll talk more about my and my family's community involvement and how we manage all the goings on in our lives and why we do it all. I was born in Toowoomba. Sorry, I'm relying on my husband. Tech support. I was born in Toowoomba, and aside from a couple of years in my early childhood, I have lived here all my life. I was schooled here, I went to USQ, and I've had my full working life here in town. I'm actually an accountant, and I've worked in public practice for most of my career, the last 16 years with the same firm. I was raised by my two parents, one an engineer, the other a teacher, and I also have two brothers. Both of my brothers now live in Brisbane with their families, but my parents still live here in Toowoomba. So in this picture is my mum is next to me, and then her mum is next to her, and then her sister is next to her, and then her daughter is to the left there, and then that's my daughter Izzy there, which I'll talk about in a minute. My dad is one of 10, and my mum has 2 siblings. My mum's mother is still alive, and she lives here too. I'm married to Andrew, and I have 2 stepdaughters who are 18 and 20. And together, Andrew and I have a 7-year-old daughter, Isabella. Izzy's in grade 1 at school, and she loves ballet, music, swimming, reading, iPads is evident today, and being outdoors. She has a wicked sense of humour, she's very empathetic and caring, and she's just a sweet and lovely young lady. Of course, we also have the family that we choose, and that is our very close friends who we have such great times with, who we trust, and who we know have our back no matter what and whenever we need. Family, whether born to or chosen, to me is safety, it is comfort, it is support, it is honesty, and of course it is love. I've never known any different to that, and now I want my daughter to be surrounded by and to be blessed with as many good people and positive influences in her life as possible. My family is very close, and we spend a lot of time together. We go to a lot of places together. We know a lot about each other. My husband, when he came into our family, I'm sure thought that was all a little bit too much, but now he just embraces it and knows that it is and will always be a part of our life. And of course, it's actually not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very good and positive thing for us. As a family, we do like to socialise a lot. We like to go to the park, to the theatre, to the movies, and very much like to go to dinner or lunch and enjoy catching up on great conversation. It's somewhat unusual that we have been away doing just that for the last 4 weekends in a row, but it's also fairly rare that we have much downtime at home. There is just so much to do, and life is there to be lived. Andrew's had to embrace that life motto too, once he met me. We're coming up to my favourite time of year, and that's Carnival of Flowers, followed very closely by Christmas. So I'm very excited for the next few months and for winter to be over. Because even as a born and bred Toowoombarite, I'm still not a fan of that. That's Izzy and I at Carnival last year. Sometimes are we far too busy and really does need to slow things down? Absolutely. And we do know that we have to take time to recharge. The greatest challenge, of course, which I think most of us would experience, is time, just not having enough of it. Although I try, I know we can't always do everything. And we also might not be able to do everything together, so sometimes we just need to divide and conquer. I'm very blessed in my life with wonderful family and friends, and I'm very grateful for them and the experiences that I get to share with them. Perhaps that is why Andrew and I have taken a fairly active role in our community and give back where we can. Andrew is the chairman of the Empire Theatre and he's deputy chair of the Toowoomba Hospital Foundation. He has been president of the Chamber of Commerce and is actively involved with projects at USQ and also at Pure Land College. We also have our own business where he is the managing director. So he is a touch busy most of the time. I work part-time for my employer, about 20 hours a week, and I give back by being an active committee member of Blush Cancer Care. I've been a committee member since about 2015, so since Izzy was about 3 years old. Blush Cancer Care is a local charity that supports the breast cancer patients of Toowoomba and the Darling Downs. We started as a committee under the umbrella of St Vincent's and St Andrews Hospitals in 2015, but became our own association in 2016. I'm currently the treasurer and have been for the duration of my time on the committee. All the money we raise stays right here in our community. Our committee are all volunteers and we have no other paid staff, so we have very little administration costs. Some of the services we provide include a care package for each patient as they begin their treatment, increased patient contact hours for the breast cancer nurses at both St Vincent's and St Andrews Hospitals, an annual patient education forum, and a partnership with Queensland X-Ray and Fit Lab called the Fight Back to Fitness program. This is an amazing program that gives patients the ability to get back into physical exercise after their treatment has ended, but also, just as importantly, a wonderful outlet for mental health and camaraderie as well. We also have an advanced breast cancer support group that meets every month. And that's just some of our community there, and a picture of us in our Blush t-shirts a couple of years ago at one of our events. Of course, these services that we provide require dollars to facilitate, and raising dollars is tough. As any one of you would know who's been involved with the charity, although Toowoomba is a particularly benevolent community, there are only so many dollars to go around. And there are plenty of great local and national charities doing very important and valuable work. We certainly have a growing band of supporters raising dollars for us, but for our own part, we have hosted 2 to 3 fundraising events per annum, and I've also been actively involved in the management of those. Another skill that I've learned a lot about, event management, and all of the triumphs and tears that go with that. For a few years, I felt that between work and Blush, I've pretty much had a full-time job. And it's certainly been exhausting and certainly sometimes stressful. And going back to that lack of time that I mentioned earlier, there is so much we would like to do, and with Blush, we have a rather long list for it, but there is only so much we can do in the time that we have. But most importantly, I enjoy the experience, and the feedback that we get from patients is just so overwhelmingly grateful and positive that it certainly certainly makes all the energy that we put into Blush worthwhile and very humbling. Also knowing that we have achieved all of this as volunteers and essentially as a committee of only 6 to 9 people, or with our own jobs and our own other business commitments, is particularly satisfying. Has Izzy missed out on a few things or been dragged around to a few too many meetings or events? Certainly. But we believe the positive value she will gain from seeing her parents involved and being involved herself in community service will far outweigh those couple of drawbacks. I want her to know that we should leave a positive mark on the world if we are fortunate enough to be able to do that. And that we absolutely can make a difference in the lives of people who maybe right now are struggling physically, emotionally, financially, just by giving our time. Also, I hope that exposure to many and different events, people and cultures gives her confidence and joy around others. In an era where we hear so much about anxiety and depression amongst kids, even as young as Izzy, positive experiences and people might just help. So, how do we manage all of that? Well, practically, I love lists. I have a list for everything and they are updated regularly. I haven't yet embraced the technology of calendar and notes on my phone. I still have the paper diary where every commitment for the week is noted on one side and there's a notes page on the other side where I can keep all the list. I have a very supportive husband who does more than his fair share of managing our household while managing our business and his own community connections. I have a very supportive employer. As I mentioned, I work about 20 hours a week, but my employer has embraced flexible working arrangements. So as long as I'm doing the job required of me, then they don't really mind what days and what times I do it. I could probably be working for our own business, but I do like the independence that my employment gives me, and I also have clients that I've been working with for my full 16 years. We have very strong relationships, and although the work is stressful, and sometimes during the year very stressful, that client connection is very rewarding. My supported work environment also means that I can do reading groups at Izzy's school every week. I've never missed a sports day or a concert, and I'm able to drop off and pick Izzy up almost every day of the school year. So I hope that shows Izzy that mums can work, if they choose to, and still be there for all of the special moments as well. I have extremely supportive parents who have taken care of Izzy more times than we could possibly count. Fortunately, they love that time too, so it is mutually beneficial. So yes, as a family we are very busy, but we manage it, and personally for the most part I wouldn't have it any other way. I am a particularly social person. I do like to experience life in many ways. I like to meet new people and engage with old friends, so for me it works. I hope that Izzy too experiences as much as life has to offer, and she also meets plenty of great, inspiring, challenging people along the way. I would encourage you to get involved in community organisations if you can. Find an organisation that resonates with you, or a cause that you're passionate about, or perhaps that you know you can best offer your skills, knowledge or experience to. Toowoomba is well known for its community spirit and engagement, so there are plenty of ways to get involved. It might require some juggling of other child, husband, family commitments, but the satisfaction of knowing you are helping your community in some way, I believe, is a much greater reward than the occasional minor inconvenience. I thought I'd just finish with a quote about family that resonated with me. So, being a family means you are part of something very wonderful. It means you will love and be loved for the rest of your life. Thank you, and I wish everyone a wonderful, really positive experience for the rest of the day.
That we can make a difference, and how wonderful, what a gift it is to be loved. What a gift to be loved in our first families and then the families that we go on to have, and how that love just spills out, and the ripple effect is significant. So please thank Sarah for thank you for your preparation and for your heart that's gone into your presentation. For someone who's never been a speaker much, you know, like public speaking, I think it's
in your husband's role of parenting, but we're not valuing how valuable it is to bring up children. It's the most undervalued occupational pastime, whatever role we have in life. How do we change it?
That's a fantastic question, and you're so right. Having, as I've said, I've come from parents who didn't know how to be a parent, being teenagers, and even me having children in my late 20s, I didn't know how to be a parent either. We don't get taught it, and you're expected to know it. And I think there's sometimes I hear people, and some people are natural mums. I wasn't a natural mum. I was quite freaked out and didn't know. And I think as a society, it's about talking, sharing. Groups like this are perfect to make people feel comfortable, whether you're good at and maternal and know what you're doing or not. It's very hard in a society when we're expected to work, and we value work as well, and we don't necessarily value, like you said, staying at home, whether it's a father or a mother. I hear a lot about women-centred care at Toowoomba. I'd love to see family-centred care, because I don't actually think you need to necessarily be the mum. It could be the dad or the grandparents, or actually anyone you feel safe with. So that's going to be a generational thing, but I think we are moving along the right way.
I agree. The only thing I was going to say as well is, you know, often with the dads, the phrase is, is he going to look after the children? As if it's something that is not expected of him, as if it's almost an inconvenience, and it's expected of the mother but not of the father. I hate that, hearing that, because, you know, we're in this together, where we have equal roles. And that's just dad being a parent. That's not dad being a babysitter. He's not a babysitter, he's a dad. So that's the only thing that I know about that.
As parents always should equal work at home for the kids, and especially mom, because mom is close with children, and in our culture, mom especially work with kids.
Thank you, Gail, for that question. Lady has a question.
I found it quite interesting that Toowoomba is actually a city, an education city at heart, yet still the low stats. And Shirley Ann, you quoted that about 8 times you moved to 7 or so, and your role now is. So it seems that stats are a great observation, but not necessarily definitive. And I was just wondering if you could all maybe speak to that regarding something that might have been a challenge for each of you, and we certainly know Zita, and I can see where Marsha gets her, what would you say, confidence from. Thank you for your lovely speech. Gotcha, sorry. So yeah, just speak to the fact of what we can do to encourage the individual to change a circumstance, because it's obvious that it's possible.
I could quite easily have gone down a different path and I wouldn't be here today. The changing things for me was just, I knew something in me just did not want to be where I was. I didn't know what that was. And I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school, so one of the obvious things for me, because in New Zealand when I was living there, they had where you could get a student loan. So it's going to sound really bad, but I decided that I would travel the world on my student loan and study extramurally. So I spent my first couple of years at university and I worked full-time to pay, so I worked full-time, studied full-time. And then I travelled and did my assignment sitting on the beach at actually Bondi Beach, and then things like that. So it is possible, if you've got the passion and the drive, you can do anything you like. As I said, 70% of people will remain where they are because they don't have those same opportunities. I was lucky because I'd had a job since I was 12, so I do believe I've got a good work ethic, and it's that whole thing, I never dreamed of success, I worked for it. I worked really hard to change my situation. I didn't know what my situation would change to, but I knew I didn't want to be where my parents had come from.
So encouraging people to work hard, whatever their passion is.
Exactly, and that's why I like talking about that. I'm not saying everyone can get out of the situation, because sometimes you're too far gone in a certain way, and then you don't know what you don't know, but it is possible. I like to think that we can give people as much mentorship and support to see, don't fear failure, because that for me, I never had. My sister had that. She dropped out of university. She met a really great guy who studied engineering or something. They're still together. And she ended up later in life getting her education degree and becoming a teacher. But at the time she didn't, and it's very easy. And it's never too late to study, never too late. But you've got to be able to risk getting a student loan or risk doing that sort of thing. But 40% more earnings if you do continue down that path is a pretty good reason to do it.
And I do recall the jokes of the time. One more Kiwi on Bondi and Bondi will sink.
Look, I've been very fortunate my whole life. I was given every opportunity, as I say, for education, including a university degree. So I guess all I can do, as I say, is give back now as much as I can, and then also hopefully encourage my kids to do the same and be grateful for the opportunity that they will be given as well, and take it from there and just hope that that continues that connection.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. You still talk about being stressed and, stretched and all of that, and then all of us have to navigate that, don't we?
That's right.
And I think that's, the challenges that we face are important because they kind of mean that we have more that we can keep giving, that we overcome when we overcome them. Any other questions for our wonderful panel? Get my running shoes on.
I'm just wondering, what's your thoughts on how we can change our cultural beliefs in that we're only valued by how much we make and our degrees? Because I come from a background where the woman in the family is the queen, and it has a lot of influence on her community. So it's not all about what you make. So what do you think about that? How should we as women tell another woman it's okay if she wants to be a housewife, or a man, not just women, but we do kind of devalue this idea of being a housewife. It's actually a very important part of our existence. We're the glue of the family, no matter who it is, whether it's a grandmother or a mother or a father. So what do you think about that?
You can start.
That's a fantastic question. That really is. So the reason I'm proud of my degree is just because I was the first one in my family to do it. So for me, that's what I place value on. But you're so right. It doesn't mean that if you don't go on and do that. I always say to my 3 kids, I just want you, whatever you do, to be happy. And I do think that we have to place more importance on family, whether that family's immediate family or community family, but having supports around us. We have a very high suicide rate now, particularly with teenagers, and I think some of that is that the social isolation people face, they've lost their sense of who they are and where they come from. And so I think it's really important that whether it's a degree or just knowing who you are. Lao Tzu is one of my favourite Chinese philosophers. He's the one that said about the picture, give a man a fish. He also said, he who knows himself is wise, he who knows others is wise, he who knows himself is enlightened. Knowing who you are and what you want to be, whether that is a stay-at-home mum, whether it is getting a job where you earn lots of money. We do place a lot of importance on money, which is exactly why I send my kids to public school. It shouldn't be about what school you go to and what degree you get. It should be who you are as a person, how you give back, and how you can sleep straight at night knowing that you are actually valuing others, because that's really important.
Again, I think from my perspective, I'm just trying to think if I have any friend who has been a stay-at-home mum or is a stay-at-home mum now. No, I don't think I do. Like, every one of my friends is working in some capacity. Now, I suppose for a lot of people, they have to work. They have to work, whether that is part-time or full-time. They just... And whether that is because we put too much pressure on what people have in the way of material possessions, and so they have to work to keep up with that, possibly. I'm the same. As long as Izzy is happy doing what she wants to do, hopefully not a YouTuber or something like that, which she probably has an idea of in her future, then I'm happy. And look, Izzy is at a private school, and I look around there and I see people who potentially have a lot of money but aren't very nice people, to be honest. So I think the same. As long as you can live a good life and be a good person and give back where you can, if you can, then that's the most important. So.
As a parent, I would like to my kids study and in the future be a good person and helpful. And my parents also educate, and my father, he's very strong man and very kind, and he likes to me and my sister to have an education and help our community. And after when I was married and my husband, because I have kids also, and my husband said, you have to study, you don't sit home. It's not good a choice. But my father's family, and they all said, you don't need to, because we have a good life, you don't need to go to teach at school to be a teacher. But my husband said, no, it is good, my wife have a job and with a community, and it's good. But I started to be a teacher in our country, and very good is to be educated and with everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Zita. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to add very briefly. I think it's all about choices. Sometimes we don't have a sense that we've got any choices, and I'm aware that that's the case for some people. But I remember when I was going to name our first child, and I got the sense that my mother-in-law didn't like the name. And my friend sat me down and she said, you know, your mother-in-law got to choose the names for her children, and you can choose the names for your children. And I think it is about choices that we make. So we chose, Brett and I, for me to be at home when our children were little. And as soon as Yentil here went off to kindy at Burley House, I was very excited to do a pastoral care course. And so I just did that one day a week when she was while she was at kindy. And then I was a volunteer and then part-time, and it's been in the last couple of years that I've worked full-time. But I think the gift of time for our children is significant. The time that we spend with them, hearing about their day, how they're feeling, and what they're learning,
I think that's really, I've been grateful at least that we were able to make that choice to have that time with our kids. So I just want to say that I'm grateful for the time that my mum and dad invested in us. I'm grateful that we've been gifted with children because that isn't always the gift that some people have. And in terms of parenting, it's a lifelong thing. You never stop being a parent. And so I'm doing my best to equip myself to be able to keep being a parent right through till the day I die. So, yeah, thank you. So Salma's got a question. Connie?
Just before we go off that, do any of the young people want to respond to that last question? Because I really liked that Shirley-Anne said maybe it's that real education of are we actually teaching them that you can do without? So the money thing, like is it the money versus the stay at home? And what do some of you young people, if you don't mind answering?
You're going to stay at home mentally.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, because we're of a certain, most of us are of a certain era which is not near their era. And our era, like my mother was one of those 50s mothers who was brought up that she was teaching that you stay at home and you are a good wife and you are a good mother and that is your main purpose in life.
There you go.
So, thanks Raphael and Sorry.
It's like if you have a choice. Back home when I was there in Balochistan, I was taught that the only choice that a girl had was like to be a good housewife, to be good in bringing up children and doing work for the husband. But when I came here, I found out like I had other choices, like to build up a future for myself and, not only work for a man, but build up who I am and have a great position, build up my own family. It's all about the opportunities you get and the choices you get. And I can still make the choice of sitting at home and being a housewife as I was taught. But I can make the choice of building up my own life.
Okay, Salma, would you like to?
My name is Sawan, and I'd like to speak to you from a Hindu perspective, another culture I'd like to bring in. I'll just make a comment, it's not a question. My comment on your question, Uma, and your comment and your answer, your response, I'd like to say that educated housewives are much better, much happier. Because they know what they know. And they have a stand, they have a standard, and they stand by it. I've often found they do not just do things wishy-washy. And we all do that, whether you're educated, you haven't had opportunity to get educated, that's a different story. But what I want to say is, I'm educated. I'm 72 years today. I said that, but I say it because I've been running around for so long. I have had first degree, BA, Educational Psychology. Then I went ahead and did vocational counseling because I'm more interested in young ones. So I thought I'd help them find a job and do this and that, vocational counseling, you know what that is, counseling in schools. And then I went ahead and did a degree. I came here and I did postgraduate level diploma in teacher training, so I could be teaching unemployed people and all that. Did I get a job? I had a very good job before back home in vocational. I was developing careers education. When I came here, I was lucky enough to get a job at Skillshare, right? Right in my alleyway. Then after that, they closed. I couldn't get a job anywhere. I do not put it down to discrimination of any sort. It's opportunity. Because I was educated, I feel my education is coming handy every day. Right? So I looked around, where is the job? Where is the opening? It was in aged care. So I went ahead and did certificate 3 in aged care, and I stayed there. I got a bit lazy. I didn't go into RN or anything. I stayed there, but I think I'm doing a marvelous job because when I run around with the young ones, they said, they can't tell I'm 70. They They think I'm 54 or something. But anyway, my education comes in handy. The people you're dealing with are way above them. Way above. In their minds, in their education, in their experience, in everything. So the clients you have every day, you need your education, you need your backing. And where is the backing coming from? For me, it's education. And money is important, of course. My husband always said, I give away, he never gives me. He says, in your rainy day, you must keep your money. And I know for sure, to get from A to B, to do what this community work you are doing, you need the money. So all the people saved up, they are the ones who build the churches. That money in church, we say Catholic Church is very rich. How is it rich? Because these people did it. Right? We don't have a chance, half a chance, doing what they did. So if we can get our education up the sleeve, very important, go together with money. I don't know if I've answered your questions, but this is my response. And from Hindu culture, you cannot change your circumstances very easily. If you're born in a Pandit home, you remain Pandit all your life. True or not, Gita? If you're born in a low class, high class, whatever, class system is not there, but the attitude is there. I myself don't feel good to go and stand above a Pandit. I will not. It'll kill me. You say, what about the love and respect for these people? For years and years they've had this. The church ministers, the pastors, the fathers, how can we not respect them, the respect that was due to them, given by our parents? So they are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We've got a couple more questions, I think, before we have lunch.
This is the time to speak.
I'd like to bring in the issue of grandparents, because I think everybody here is in communication with migrants and refugees of the last 20 years in Toowoomba. And most of those families, whether they're at USQ or the Meat Works or aged care or whatever they're working in, are without grandparents. And I know there's one family in our parish who do have a grandmother here because her mother came with her. It's been a very difficult time, but grandmother herself has no education, but she's pure gold in that family. And they are so aware. I mean, every time I arrive, we hug because I recognise the value of that older woman in that family with the little children. And there's another family I know where they've chosen to have two families in the one house, so that 3 out of the 4 parents are working, low pay, but one mother is there. And you know, that's the arrangement they've made. But could you then comment on this issue that is very alive in Toowoomba now, the lack of grandparents?
Well, again, Izzy's grandparents are here on my side, so, and as I mentioned in my presentation, she spends a lot of time with them, which is fantastic. I have a great relationship with my parents, and she has a great relationship with them as well. I do have friends who don't have any family here in Toowoomba, and yeah, I don't know how they do it. It's so important, family support. I mean, friends can give you support, but family support is just number one for me. And I love the idea of families moving together. I'm open to that.
There are 12 children in that house.
Really? No, I love that whole idea of the village. So that I think that's fantastic.
So one of the ways to get a better life is often to go where the work is. And so for my kids, even though I've given them, I feel, a much better life than I ever had, we've been in Australia 6 years. And as for 3 of those, I've been running Toowoomba Hospital, which has given me much better opportunities than I had in New Zealand. But it meant my kids have missed out on grandparents. And that's the social exclusion that a lot of families face when they have to go for a better job, like move to a city. I see that in places like Cherbourg, where 100% of people rent a house. If you actually want to go somewhere to get capital gain and buy a house and move on, you have to leave your family, which is very much an issue, I think. Why? But one of the good solutions, I know my daughter really misses her grandparents on both sides because they are both in New Zealand, and my in-laws, my father-in-law's too sick to travel, so for the 6 years we've had to travel back to New Zealand once a year so they can see them. But my daughter joined a youth group and they go to the old folks home and look after, because a lot of actually what we do in our society is we don't have people living with us. We send them to a nursing home and we leave them there, and they don't have family there either because they're very lonely. And that's very common in Western worlds now, that you leave your parents at our home and go and visit them once a month. So I like the fact my kids get to have sort of step-grandparents by going to old folks' homes and looking after the people. I spent 3 years in Japan. When I finished university, my husband and I got married, and about a week later we were off to Japan. It turned out to be 3 years teaching English. And again, a way for us to get a good opportunity and save money. And over there, it's very much that you live as a family and you live with your grandparents. We learned a really great way of life. We realised the importance of family there that I hadn't learned, because I've learned that you don't hug your parents, you just, it was different. And so I learned that actually I wanted to be like that, that our kids are going to have kids and we're all going to live together as one big happy family. I love that idea. But to get ahead, we had to move away. So it's hard, and I think that whatever works, but I do think we need to start thinking about the people the other way, of the loneliness that older people face in this society, and how you may not be naturally blood related, but how you can go and support those people, because it's a lonely world.
For my kids, the grandparents are not here in Australia because in our country, but my kids really miss the grandparents. But just one, my husband's father left. My parents passed away, but my mother-in-law passed away about 2 years ago. But just sometimes my kids didn't remember, because my kids, it was small when I came to Australia. Just my big daughter Martha, she remembered his parents, grandparents, but she sometimes remember she crying because she loves grandparents, and my father-in-law loves actually so much, especially my big daughter. And sometimes he can't speak on the phone with my daughter because he said, I'm getting cry because he misses a lot of my kids, especially my big daughter. It's sad. Yeah, it's because very hard to get family and start from zero here.
We've got a couple more questions. So Rahila wants to ask a question, Lainey, and Win, and then we might have lunch. Yep.
Mine is one question, it's just response to the grandfather thing. With grandparents, I feel like they play a really great role in our lives. Like when my dad was in Australia for 3 years and we were still back home, my grandfather, he supported my education, whereas like my old family was against it as a girl going to school, and he supported me. And when we came here, like we were at the excitement of of a new life. We just forgot like the sacrifices he made for us. And like last year in religion, I did Meals on Wheels. So it was the same, like going to old people's house and giving them the meal and just having a little chat. This just reminded me of my grandparents, and I feel like this love and support from old people is just amazing.
Thanks, thank you.
So thank you very much, ladies, for coming along and being such a wonderful inspiration. It's been really fantastic. I've just got a couple of comments, probably just to bolster what you were saying. And when you were speaking, I think, on the family, there is a saying, and unfortunately it's not an old Irish saying, but it says, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And I think that's very, very true. And the other lady, the Hindu lady, mentioned about different things. I think she is correct in saying that someone who is educated as a woman will never be put down. You know, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can put you down without your permission. And when a woman knows who she is, or when a person knows who they are, because I feel that we're not necessarily building up women as a separate thing. We need to build up everyone. And when you mentioned about someone is a strong woman when she mentors other women or brings them up rather than puts them down. And there was, yeah, it's wonderful to hear you guys talking about education. I just wonder what happens to, you know, I'm not educated beyond secondary, so year 12, and I'm not sure, maybe everybody in the room has had the benefit of, you know, tertiary education. I just wonder, it's wonderful that there is focus on young women. I feel it is a shame when there is no support for older women. And when you said about having a mentor, like where are there mentors for the older, you know, of any age? I didn't grow up when there was career counselling or whatever. I still would like to learn, I just don't know what the options are out there. So I don't know, probably quite a number of the ladies in my age group have university education, the third level education. And I also, no, there was something else I wanted to say and I've totally forgotten it. You know, about the grandparents thing and having all those generations. And yes, it would be absolutely wonderful, and I think it would resolve a lot of issues for people, for everyone, for children, for infants, for married people, you know, young married couples, etc., where they're all that generational interchange and support. And there's a wonderful, gosh, my leg is just bouncing here. I'm going to sit down. And so there's a wonderful program coming up on the ABC. I think it's Tuesday at 8:30, and it's talking about, I think they said, an aged care centre for 4-year-olds. So and unfortunately, it is a first in Australia. I cannot understand why we do not take the wisdom from other countries and whatever, do it here. We can do that with all these stupid reality shows. Why cannot we, when someone has discovered something, why can't we just embrace it instead of asking someone here to invent this whole thing? It just seems absolutely ridiculous. And I just feel, why can we not get together as a group, not only as women, but share experiences? And that would be a multi-generational thing. And it's like when the tide comes in, all the boats will rise. So I feel, you know, everyone, doesn't matter, I'm not married, I've never had children, so therefore I don't have grandchildren. And so I just feel it takes a community to rear a child. And, you know, that even an older person could go in and parent people, because, you know, my family think that I have, because I've never married or had children, that I know absolutely nothing. I haven't lived under a rock for my whole adult life, and so I do feel that I too have something to share. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that people have had education. However, being to the school of life is very valid too. And for people in my age group and older, in that era, there wasn't the option. And, you know, although in a sense, I left school in 1972, and I wanted to do something. The only options for me were being a nurse, a teacher, or a secretary. So, you know, I just feel, why can we not have these forums, and instead of just isolating the young people, that we bring up the whole society. So if any of you ladies can get in and tell me that there is an absolutely wonderful mentoring group for older women who want to explore what they could do, bring their whole life experience into it. Because once you've got the life experience behind you, you can actually go a lot further, because there's power and there's wisdom, and that is beyond academic. So thank you guys for listening so long.
Thank you. Just a comment on that about it's never too late to learn, and often a lot of workplaces will offer education. I find a lot of people feel intimidated and won't take it up, but I did my master's degree through my work paying for it because they saw the value of it, and a lot of places will do that. I wouldn't have been able to afford to do my master's because at that time, we were a one-income family, so it was really useful and it's been advantageous. About the mentorship, it's really interesting because I think it's one of the things we're missing is mentorship. But I put it back to you. Why don't you start one? I was going to say.
I just feel, you know, as a group of older women, where we all to get together, we would all be able to pool our wisdom. And so yes, please, if you can tell me how to start it.
Well, there's a saying: if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. It'll change you for the better.
And if you want change, you need to be.
You need
part of it.
Just a comment: the neighbourhood centre's a good place to start for
And you three.
And I think you've got a lot of resources here, Win, of people who'd be happy to put their hand up and say, look, we've turned up today, and we want to be those powerful women into the future that you're talking about. So I think there's a lot of reasons. The very fact that you've turned up today and others have suggests that there's a lot of opportunity. So Max, I encourage you to
I'm going to ask all you wonderful, wise women and guys to write your name down and not walk out of here and forget it. Maybe write your name down and we can come to some kind of consensus, or in a way that is often not available in a patriarchal sense, like women sit around in a group and everyone is the same. They have diverse quality. Everyone, no one is more better. I know that's not English. No one is better because they're educated. We do, I think, as a society, we revere education, which is great. We often put people who have been educated on a pedestal, which is not good for either. And I think, you know, as I said, with the woman, the lady who has chosen to rear her family, that is no less a career, because it's the most important thing to rear children, the most important thing. And I think that, lost it again.
Lunch is here, and I know Lorna just has a question she wants to ask. So I just invite Lorna to ask her question and then Amy wants to say, and then we'll have lunch.
The lady in the middle. I just was wondering how you came to substitute children. You know, your first two.
I think that was this. No, it's this.
Oh, I have stepchildren. They're not.
Stepchildren. Oh,
yes,
I'm a bit older.
Yeah, I have stepchildren.
Oh, so they're part of the family.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That was all.
Thanks, Lorna. Now, Lainey's got one more question, and then we're going to enjoy lunch together, and we can keep talking about, you know, our ideas and our experience. And I'm just seeing Kim down the back here, and I was thinking, well, the strong women you know, in our Indigenous community, who get together and sit under the tree and kind of talk, you know, about things that need to happen and ways forward. And I'm really grateful Kim's here. She can't be here long because she's got grandparents.
Just written my details down.
Oh, there you go.
Let not be the last.
Yes, that's lovely. That's very encouraging. Lainey, go for it.
I'll be very quick. Is that working? It doesn't really matter if it's not. I don't feel that anybody's literally answered Lynn's question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn. It felt to me like you were putting it out to us to step in to be a grandmother, not necessarily be an educator or a misfix at all. My life experience also has shown me that we need to perhaps start looking, not perhaps, I personally feel, looking at the macro family. We get very stuck in the micro. Me, mine, identity, I am, this, that, the other. If we look at the macro family, why would if I don't love Shriti here the same as I love my own daughter, I'm not being loving. And also, we don't have to have a group to help people as we go about our day. I did say live, love, give earlier. We can do that as an individual. I did quote the original custodians of this land in that context. However, we can all do that.
Okay. Anyone else with a burning question or comment or somewhere before we go?
Just a small comment. Yeah, I think I agree with what you were saying about education, because I think sometimes you don't need to have a degree. Sometimes women self-educate themselves, and then they try to create opportunities not just for themselves but for people around them. And I've seen that. I've experienced that in my life, because my mum was a single mother and she was not that well educated, and she was not working and she was living on a small pension. And then she brought us up and gave us the best of education, because what she had in mind was that I have been deprived from that education, I wouldn't like my children to be deprived. And she didn't have that kind of money, but still she made sure that we got the best of education, and we did, all of us. So that shows that education is important, yes, but just having a tag of being a master's or a PhD or an engineer or a doctor is not enough. So you have to self-educate yourself, create opportunities for yourselves and for others in the society, and then make a difference. And there are women who have not been educated, but still they have made a lot of difference in this world.
Ray would like to say some words, and then we'll have lunch.
I'll try to project. Most people I know that I am a bit of an advocate for those on the spectrum. And I've got a marvellous quote, and I think it still applies here. It's okay to be real about your experiences, but it's not okay to shut someone down because their experiences are different to yours.
Thank you. And I think that's very fitting in what I'm about to say. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for a respectful, honouring conversation that we've shared. You know, that we have listened to each other and that we have thought about what we've said and we've responded to each other. And I hope we continue to do that over the lunch that we've had. But before we do, I just want to thank on your behalf these three wonderful women who have given of their time, who have given of their heart. They've been up here, they've been vulnerable about what they've shared with us. Yeah? And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for being here, for sacrificing your time with your family and being here, but inspiring us and encouraging us to live our best lives and to be people with great meaning and great heart. So we've got little gifts here. Thank you very much. A big round of applause, and we hope you